you've got this mesh of organisations all trying to communicate and understand and track and resolve and make sure that there aren't errors in terms of the patent licensing or the royalty flow, the payment flow if you like. We need something that is going to be much more fit for purpose.
ALPS runs on a distributed ledger architecture, and it uses smart contracts to basically automate royalty payments for IP that sits within electronic and IoT devices. So when manufacturing companies that produce electronic devices have to pay for the IP that they need to put into the IoT devices, then that means they have to make payments to licensors, the IP owners, those who have developed that IP. And again, that could be patented technologies or software code. And those payment processes are really not efficient. First of all, they happen mostly manually. At best, they are a bit supported by some software tools, but they are not automated. Licensors then receive some payments from the licensees, but have very limited means of actually checking that these payments are correct. So for that reason, the way usually how that works is they employ audits. These audits are conducted by third parties. They cost a lot of money and no one really likes them. They don't add value to the whole process. At worst, they can damage the licensor relationship, as they are not really helping with building trust between these parties.
The auditors themselves would probably say, but they do add value. You know, they check, they find mistakes. To me, it does seem to be one of the less productive ways of creating value. Also, you've got auditing companies are at conflict. And I think that if that can be removed, then that's going to benefit the whole ecosystem. By automating the stuff that can be automated, I think we'll end up in a better situation.
Essentially, constructing software systems out of lots of components, or even software and hardware systems out of lots of components, is exactly the sort of thing that fits this whole smart contract ecosystem very nicely. It's quite exciting because it's very general purpose technology. It runs without the need of you having to trust, anyone having to trust a particular special agent. The ALPS proposal was very attractive because the combination of the use of ledgers for doing the smart contracts in innovative ways, together with the potential for a wide set of different kinds of customers, made it both technically and as a business proposition a very nice mixture.
What the technology does is basically it matches contract information from the licensing agreements with real-life data from the electronic devices. So from the devices, we know which IP sits in it and how often certain IP rights are actually being used. We then match that with the payment details from the licensing contracts that get coded into smart contracts. And then we can automate licensing payments on this distributed ledger architecture.
Smart contracts has got to be a way of making it much more straightforward for companies to ensure that they get what they're due and that they meet their obligations as a consequence. ARM alone is hundreds of millions a year. If you multiply that up across the world, even if you just narrow it to technology, is going to be hugely significant. And there are going to be opportunities. If we can improve the system by which we track the use of, and even necessarily but potentially the type of use, then there's an opportunity to evolve the ways in which people pay their royalties for using the technology. Not just for the efficiencies and benefits and cost savings that we can achieve, but also to unleash some of the creativity, the different ways of doing business, helps small companies really get to grips with being successful.
So the way how licensing payments for intellectual property in the electronics industry are currently made, they are basically not fit for purpose for the digital economy. And that's something we have to change, and that's what the ALPS technology can enable. And it wouldn't only help established licensing companies to get more out of their IP, but it will also help smaller companies to actually enter and participate in licensing markets.